Hello and welcome back to Nelson All Over Cards. I am here with Villain Theory, and today we're doing another Marvel Champions draft. This time, we're going to be drafting the five best X-Men allies. Now, this is kind of to showcase and highlight the fact that we just released a new Shadow of the Cast episode talking all about the Age of Apocalypse, which is the capstone box of the mutant cycles. Villain, how are you doing? Welcome to the channel.
I'm doing really good. Thanks for having me here again. I do enjoy these drafts, even if I think you destroyed me in the last one with that first pick of Doctor Strange. That was pretty brutal, but I would have done the same thing.
Doctor Strange was a good pick. Now, if you want to check out those drafts, you can head over. There's going to be a playlist. Villain and I have drafted a number of times. Last time we drafted the best team, which was I thought that was a fun draft. But
I like that one.
that was a fun one. That was a fun one. But because I drafted first last time, that means you get the first draft pick here. I think that there is a pretty easy overall number one. I'm hoping that that's not the case because then that may mean I actually get them. I'm just gonna leave, not give any hints, but you get to pick first. I will then pick my first and second. We'll go snake style until we've picked five different allies. Now these allies are only going to be deck building allies, no signature allies. And also, we didn't talk about this, but they have to be released. I didn't include any allies that are not out yet. So
And
no
no
Iceman, no
campaign.
Jubilee,
Yeah.
and no
Yep.
campaign. Okay. Whew, alrighty, there we go. That's all we're gonna do as a preamble. Villain, you get to start us out with the number one overall best X-Men ally in the entire game. Who is it?
There is one clear choice here, and I'm
Yeah.
absolutely going to go for it, and you're going to be sad, and I'm going to be happy, and that is Professor X.
Yeah.
Professor X is ridiculously good. He can thwart for free as an ally, but he can also confuse the enemy. If you are an X-Men hero, he can ready you up. He can stun a minion. That's particularly useful with something like maybe the Prelates in Apocalypse 1, the first Apocalypse scenario in the new box, but also something like Surprise Contender with Magog that can come in with, in multiplayer, bunch of health, or Dragon, even, really interesting things you can do with the stun. But that's the worst of his really good options. And
Yeah.
then he blocks for you, and that's fine. But they have the X-Men trait, which is good, but he's got the Psionic trait, which can be especially good and even turn on Cerebro and things. So he's just got all these extra uses, as well as just being extremely just very efficient for his cost. A confuse blocks a villain activation, but then him defending blocks a villain activation. So in two player or in solo play, if your forms, changing lines up specifically, get two blocks as well as that threat removal. Professor X is hands down probably the best ally of all the X-Men, which is why I picked him, of course, but one of the best allies in the entire game.
100% agree with you there. I mean, Professor X, I'm looking to take Professor X out of my decks rather than put him in, especially in that true solo, three thwart,
Yeah.
confuse, even if he had to be discarded before he could even block. I mean, that would be a very, very good ally right there. Yeah, that's the right pick. And now this is where it gets a little interesting because I think there's the number one pick, but then I think the others are kind of nebulous and can be a little
Yeah.
bit dependent on matchup. And that's a I mean, yeah, it gets interesting. I was really hoping you would go for like Mirage or someone to take us to take
Please.
the first pick off the table, but
Mirage.
yeah, which I think is gonna get a lot better with Iceman. But anyways,
That's true.
we have so many good allies, and since you took Professor X, I'm gonna take the other X-Men ally that's gonna confuse. That's gonna be Psylocke. She's a little bit more expensive. She's an aggression 4 cost ally. She also has the psionic trait, so she can turn on Cerebro for longer than Professor X can.
Ooh, all right.
But yeah, so Psylocke has a 2 thwart, 1 attack, and then whenever she attacks, she has an interrupt. You can remove a counter, confuse the enemy, deal an extra damage. In aggression, getting this confused can be it's game changing. And also the fact that Professor X isn't either, but Psylocke is not locked to only be played by X-Men. So you're allowed to use her in any deck. Getting that confused, especially in a true solo, is just so, so good. It's also really nice because she can thwart. She has a pretty nice thwart to an aggression. Love seeing that stat line. And so a lot of the times I'm using her for the two confuses and then a thwart, or either using the two confuses and then a chump block. And so Psylocke taking that confuse, um, you know, probably what 4 damage, 2 confuses, and a thwart for 4 cost. I like those odds. What do you think about Psylocke?
Yeah, so this is such a competitive category because we draft 5 each. We kind of basically need to, figure out our top 10 if, in case the other person takes all of them.
Yep.
I had a top 17 X-Men allies, and there were more I was thinking about.
Yeah,
So I was struggling to think who I would pick second, but unfortunately for me, it was going to be Psylocke. So
let's go.
I agree with
Nice.
everything you just said. The one downside, which is why I was wrestling with who I was going to put there, is that if you want to confuse the villain, she has to attack the
Yeah.
villain, which is in contrast to Professor X, who he can thwart a side scheme, main scheme doesn't matter, or Dazzler can attack or thwart wherever she wants, still get that confused onto the villain. But aggression having access to 2 confuses, and then she can still chump block, if you want after that, or thwart for 2, or attack training, and just whatever you want to do. Honestly, Psylocke is just very, very, very good, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think the Cerebro thing, bit of a low blow there. Can't believe you used that against me.
Well, I got you took Professor X. I got to use every piece of ammunition I have at this point. So,
I respect it.
okay, so for number 2, my second pick in the best X-Men ally draft, I when I was doing my research, I realized that aggression got some banger X-Men allies.
Oh yeah,
Oh my gosh, and I think oh my gosh, it's so tough. I'm gonna go with another aggression ally here, and I'm gonna offset my cost a little bit. I'm gonna go with a 2 cost aggression ally, Sunfire. Sunfire, 2 cost, 1, 2, 2, comes in, can hit for 2. Love 2 cost allies, but that's not the kicker here. When he enters play, you don't have to be an X-Men either to do this. When he enters play, you can spend a lightning resource to remove a villain attachment. This can be so situationally powerful that I'm throwing him in most of my aggression decks because for 2 cost, 2 attack, chump block, it's probably worth it there. But if I can get that extra kicker to spend that lightning resource to get rid of or not fanaticism, the hammer, right? I don't have to deal myself an
yep,
encounter card. If I can get rid of something that requires the villain to attack me, like there are these like attachments where it's like spend a resource and get rid of it. And those are great to get rid of with Sunfire as well. But I'm thinking about these attachments that require a huge negative impact to the game. Anything from the Four Horsemen or anything like that, where you can bypass that and you just get to discard it. Sunfire, the utility that he brings to the table is incredible. What do you think about Sunfire for number 2?
yeah. I think Sunfire is an excellent pick, and I had tentatively put him at number 6 here on my list, but I also had him at number 3 at some point. They're so close together. It's very nebulous, honestly. He is so, so good. I got to counter with the downside, right? Oh,
Yeah.
there's no attachment. He's, very underwhelming.
Is
But
he?
here's the problem. Well, if there's no attachment, he could be any 2 ally, really. It is what it is. However, Ronan's attachment you're thinking of is called the universal weapon.
Yeah.
And I know this because we just talked in the podcast about how I fought expert Ronan with Cyclops, actually. And guess what? Guess what I used Sunfire for? I removed it. I
Mhm.
also removed Ronan's, I think it's armor attachment, which you need to spend 3 resources on. So just, an extra energy with Sunfire. It was gone. It was incredibly good. So Sunfire's an incredibly good pick. And yeah, there are a couple other aggression allies that I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a lot of good aggression X-Men
Mhm.
allies, but I'm pretty happy with the 2 that I chose. Now we get to pass the buck back over to you, and you get to choose your second and third. Are they gonna both be aggression as well?
I don't know if any of them are going to be aggression because
Oh, okay.
genuinely, I've got like my third, fourth choice, but I don't necessarily know if they're better than my fifth or seventh choice. So
Okay.
I've got to think about this. I
Yeah.
do love the aggression allies, but I'm going to go to some different territory. I'm going to go to leadership. And leadership X-Men, at this point in time at least, are, I'd say, quite infamous for a lot of them being, just slightly less powerful than you'd expect, I think is fair to say. Although, with Uncanny X-Men, very good. But one of my favorites is going to be Beast. So
Heck
Beast is
yeah.
a 4. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's a good pick. Yeah.
Beast is so incredibly, incredibly good. So he's 4 cost. He has 2 in his stats. He has 3 hit points, I believe. Yep. And when he enters play, you get to basically grab a resource card. And that's basically, if you pick a double resource, that's basically a refund of 2 resources. So you could kind of think of him like a 2-cost ally. As long as you have a card left in your hand that is, 2 cost and, good to playable, uh, Beast is incredibly, incredibly valuable. And since he's got 2 attack, 2 forwarding, he is just really versatile in what he does on the board. He can do whatever you need. And we actually in the podcast talked about Age of Apocalypse, and Bishop is a character who can A, easily afford 4 resources, but B, loves resources. So, and maybe band together. That's good. I love it with Ironheart, where you can use it
Mhm.
on non-X-Men characters to get that stroke of genius. So, Beast is a big favorite of mine, and I just really do quite like Beast in general. So, that's for me a reason why I want to pick him. So, yeah, you sound like you like that choice.
Beast is so much fun. Beast works so well in any deck. And then you take it to the exponent of we're gonna put them in decks where we have hero specific resource cards where we're grabbing stored energy, charged energy, whatever it is with Gambit, where now you're getting a counter, a charge counter as well. Stroke of Genius with Ironheart is fantastic. You run it with Captain Marvel or
Oh
Hulk
yeah.
and grab those triples. I mean, you're getting insane value. Maybe Hulk. I don't know what I'd spend the triples on, I guess. But like I've already dumped my entire hand into Beast.
Yep.
But no, I really like Beast. I think Beast is very, very good when you don't even consider the fact that he can be better with some heroes because they have those hero specific resources. I'm really excited to see because I feel like resources is an area of the game where we started to see more development in, and Beast just gets better and better the longer that that goes on. So good pick. I like Beast. I had to take him off of my list.
Excellent, excellent. Now I need to pick my third X-Men ally, and this is so difficult because I could go back to leadership, I could go back to aggression, but I think we're going to go with an aspect we haven't gone for yet. I'm going to go for Polaris,
Okay.
and I really
Yeah.
like Polaris. I was debating between her and Armor because they both basically are the protection allies that bring in a tough, and Armor is cheaper, but Polaris just you can use her sooner. She has that extra damage that I think protection can really appreciate in solo play, especially. It's just, and you can put that tough on different characters. So if you were playing with another X-Men here at the table, you can put it there. You can do interesting things with it. So Polaris is a free cost ally, which, when she enters play, she can put a tough on an X-Men character, including herself. So you can use her with non-X-Men. Though I do think because you typically don't want to attack and have her take consequential damage to lose the tough, you typically prefer it on X-Men characters, but she's still very playable on anyone. She's attacked out of 2, health of 3. She can fort as well if you need it. But yeah, I just find that 2 damage, and then she can block again. Really good in combination with that tough. So just a very solid ally that I struggle not to run in X-Men protection decks ever.
Yeah, and I love the fact that her ability is when entering plays, so she synergizes mutant protectors really well, so
Yep.
she can run either the tough into the attack that you're now defending, or you give the tough to your status or to your hero. You throw Polaris in the front of a minion or even a villain attack, and you get 2 blocks that way. Or one of your or is Cyclops one of your favorite heroes?
Yeah, he's probably top 15-ish. Yeah, somewhere in
Yeah.
there. I really like
So
him.
yeah, like him with to me my X-Men or
Yeah.
any like I guess really any no, it'd only have to be the X-Men. So yeah, Cyclops with to me my X-Men and Polaris is a really fun relationship and it's just Polaris is just a all around very, very good hero. Yeah. Or ally.
Yeah. Yeah. Good if you're Colossus as well to give yourself a tough to maybe
Yeah.
spend or something.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
really, really interesting
Yeah.
ally. I want to pick my next one, but I think it's over to you now.
It is over to me,
Okay.
and you took 2 that were on my list. I had a top 10. I was able to narrow it down to 10. Yeah, what's up?
Here's the problem though. Last time I took a bunch from your list was I think picking villains, and I took like 2 or 3 of yours. You thought you had lost. Everyone sided with you in the comments. So, you know, I'm
That's the
scared.
strategy.
I'm
Yeah.
scared.
Yeah, the strategy here is actually to pretend like you took all my picks to get the sympathy votes as well. No, no. I've been this I think so far I think maybe last time with the team, we were pretty close. Like, usually there are a couple of surprises, But I think this time, like, every single pick so far, I think this is the furthest we've gotten down the list where I'm like, "Yep, that makes a lot of sense." So,
I
yeah.
think I'll have one surprise for you at some point. If you don't happen
Ooh,
to take it, there's one that
ooh,
I think might be a bit out there. So
okay.
we'll see how we go. We'll see how it goes throughout this video.
Alrighty, alrighty. Well, I'm gonna dip my toe into the aspect that we have not talked about yet. So we're gonna grab a justice ally here. We're gonna grab Blindfold. Blindfold is a 3 cost 2/0 ally that one in the justice aspect. And when she enters play, you get to look at the top 5 cards of the encounter deck, discard one of those and put them back. This gives so much information. Do you have the ability to flip down and survive that scheme? Is there going to
Yep.
be an advance coming up? Are
Yep.
you about to hit Shadows of the Past? You can nuke
Yep.
Shadows of the Past. You can get rid of Universal Weapon from Ronin, right? There are so many things, and you can set up in a solo game probably 2 turns worth of encounter cards and boost cards that you can see and you can set and you can plan your way through there. So even though she's a 3 cost, 2 thwarts and a block, which is pretty decent, you also get to see and plan for your next 2 turns. Blindfold can be a massive swing in the game. And so I'm going
Uh,
with Blindfold. Also another psionic character. I'm just saying. Cerebro.
I
Just had
don't
to
care
throw
about
that out
Cerebro
there.
anymore. I should have brought it up.
But yes, Blindfold is going to be my third pick. What do you think about that pick?
Uh, I thought that was going to be in my pick. That surprised you.
Yes, let's go.
So that I was surprised, even though I was planning to pick it. So
Nice.
um, yeah. So to refer to this Ronin game I did with Cyclops, I keep referring to. Guess what? I played Blindfold, and Blindfold allowed me to avoid under fire that I was about to get.
Ooh,
So
that's big.
under under fire against Ronin, dodging that huge, huge, doesn't get better than that.
Yeah,
So yeah, I guess that's kind of good.
that's
Uh,
awesome. That's really
people,
fun
yeah,
that that's the
I've
one
done
that you were gonna do. Sorry, I keep
it,
cutting you off.
it's really fun for you, isn't it? Getting
Yes.
blindfold. Oh yeah, jeez. No, I was gonna say I've got a video on my channel where I talk about global logistics being one of my favorite cards. Definitely probably my favorite justice card. Blindfold is kind of like that. Get that information. Knowledge is power, and then it's not just you can kind of maybe dodge something nasty, but just knowing what's coming, you can not only just plan your turn around it, but you can it just helps you, kind of throttle your resources. Or maybe I don't want to use this ally to attack the villain. I'll keep it around because I know something
Yeah.
bad is coming up. But I've stopped the other bad thing. It's just really good. I love it. So terrible pick, awful.
Nice. Okay, well, that's cool because I thought that my 4th pick was gonna be your surprise pick. So I was actually kind of holding out because I was like, I think Blindfold's on the list, but I think that my next pick was gonna be the one that you were gonna think that you were gonna surprise me with. But I'm gonna stick with it regardless. This is gonna be a ally that I have found to be more and more useful, the more I play her, and that's Karma in the protection aspect. Karma's a 4 cost ally, 002 or 001. Awful stats, horrible stats. But when you play Karma, you get to take control of a non-elite minion, and they are considered kind of your ally or your minion or your ally, I guess, at that point. Then they take 2 consequential damage. But what's great about this is because it's a huge tempo swing, right? You're not only are you effectively defeating a minion, you're getting another ally on the table. You get to then use their stats and their chump block, and then you can chump block with karma. So at the very minimum, it is 2 blocks with karma for a 4 cost, but you're probably getting way more value out of it than just that. And what I love, we mind controlled a Sentinel Mark 8, not an elite minion
Oh,
with like it was like a 2/5. It was dumb. Like it was just like, oh, well, this is fun. And so you can take those. You can take guard minions. You can get rid of those threats. And I will say that Karma, I think, shines in a higher player count game when you're
yes.
probably guaranteed to have more minions on the table, but also in a solo game because the way that the resources are in this game, she can be a niche pick where if you don't have a minion, use her as a resource. Or if you do have a minion, swing that minion. You don't have to take care of that minion. In a solo game, minion control can be a weak spot in protection. And so if you can use karma to effectively be your minion control and get a benefit out of that, the swing and tempo can be insane. So Karma's that fourth pick.
Yeah, Karma's a really good ally. One of my favorite actually, but I don't know if they'd make my top five. I was thinking about it. They're on my list. They are on here. But downside, I gotta bring that up. I gotta try and fight it. If there's no minion, what do you do? Or if the minions, I guess it's actually still pretty good on weak minions. Let's grab that. If there's no minion, what do you do? She's then just, basically completely unplayable. It's a bit situational, a bit like Sunfire. Absolutely incredible in the right situation. But there are other times where you're just like, I'd kind of rather have any other X-Men ally there. So that is my counterpoint. The other counterpoint I've actually found is that it takes up a lot of your ally slots, at your ally limit.
Mhm.
If you play Karma and then you immediately have another one there, especially if you're trying to keep the X-Men thing going to trigger some of the X-Men support kind of stuff. Uh, but it's still very, very good. My favorite hero to use them with is not an X-Men, but X-Force is Psylocke. I love that you can kind of recur it.
Yeah.
And yeah, that is really excellent. And
Oh yeah,
the
she's
way
another psionic.
stop picking psionic characters. Come on.
I didn't even think about that. That's funny.
Well, hopefully Mirage is Sonic when I pick her. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. I think she is. I don't use her a ton, um, but yeah, I do really enjoy Karma when I use her. I play a lot of two players, and sometimes higher. And Karma's just so much fun because you're not just controlling a minion. You're basically removing it. You
Yeah.
defeat a minion and get an ally, and you can sometimes still use an ally rather than just block with it immediately, which can get kind of crazy and can be pretty funny depending on what you control. So
Yeah.
yeah, I really enjoy that. So I think that's good, but it's situational. Oh, I don't know. It was good.
Situational.
It was good.
Situationally game winning. I'll take that.
Okay, okay.
But that leaves you with your last two picks. So
Oh,
what are you thinking?
well, I was thinking Blindfold, and I was going to say Blindfold instead of Polaris, but I was like, he's never going to say Blindfold. I'll save that to the end.
Nice. Nice.
But I do like my picks. I do like my picks. So who do I have next? This is really the ambiguous territory here,
Yeah.
and I just want to read them out and talk about it, but I don't want to tip you off on any potential gems.
Mhm.
Hmm.
I'm gonna take Professor X from the Gambit pack, where you took the Professor X from the Mutant Genesis.
Well, I'm going to take Psylocke from my second Wolverine pack that I bought. No,
Nice, nice.
let's go for someone. I want to go for a new one, and we are going to go back to aggression. So I'm going to go for the most very seriously named ally in all of the game, and that is Goldballs. And Goldballs is really, really powerful, honestly.
Yeah.
He has a one attack stat, okay, but his ability is to discard cards, and for each one you discard, to a maximum of 3, he gets +1 damage. So you've lost 3 cards from the top of your deck. Oh no, maybe it's digging deep. Yeah, no, yeah, you can make it work. But regardless, you now have played a 3-cost ally that has done 4 damage.
Yeah.
If you attack 3 times with him, it's 12 damage for a 3-cost ally. If you put attack training on him, it's now 25 damage total. Like if you get that on him with his fresh, it's 5 damage 5 times. You've won the game. Basically in
Yeah.
solo. It's really, really good. Now there's a small sort of downside. You could discard something really vital, but for the most part, especially in modern decks, every card is especially good. And given villain disruption effects, you can't count on having any given card at any given time, I feel like. So I play Goldballs without any fear, and he always does me proud. It's just so much damage.
Yeah. Goldballs Goldballs is he's newer, right? He came out in the AOA pack, but I really like the
Yeah.
synergy that he provides with Digging Deep and White Fox, but he doesn't even need that to be good. But I
Nope.
do like that we are getting more of that type of style of gameplay where we're discarding cards for an effect. And Goldballs, I like Goldballs from a sense of a minion control. You can do exactly how much damage. Same thing, same reason why I like magic attack. I can deal the exact amount of damage I need, and I don't, there's not really a risk in doing that. So if I need to deal 2 damage, I can. If I need to do 4 damage to take out that minion, I can to clear the guard. And so I really like gold balls for that. And good pick, good pick. He actually was not on my top 10 though.
Ooh,
So
interesting. Not even on your
yeah,
top 10.
yeah.
Whoa. I,
I don't
I
know if
also
I played
shout
with him enough to like understand how good he is. I think that's
uh
more it.
It's yeah, well, let's go with that. Please, guys, think that I've picked a good character. No, something else I just wanted to quickly shout out about Goldballs that I forgot to mention. I think he's an exceptional ally for rush decks, any kind of rush deck.
Yeah.
Because you play him turn 1, by turn 3, he's done 12 damage on himself, but, by himself, which is, yeah, kinda
Insane.
nice. Not bad, not
Insane.
bad. Um, so I've gotta pick my last one here.
Ooh,
There's so many good ones, and I feel like you're
er,
gonna go for whichever one I don't go for. Uh,
at least one of the ones that you don't go for, I'll go
hmm,
for.
you know what? You know what? We'll go for it. I think I'm gonna change my plan actually here. I'm gonna change. I've had, I think, a few expensive, a few 3 costs, 4 costs, I need a 2 cost ally, and you took Sunfire, and I'll throw it out there that Pixie's pretty good as well. But I think
Pixie is
someone
good.
who's also new and very, very interesting is Triage. So I'm gonna go with Triage as my new surprise pick because
Yes.
I really like Triage. It's basically, if you're an X-Men character at least, it's first aid as well as getting an ally that can block and attack or thwart. And healing yourself for 2 is fine, but healing an ally for 2 is kind of giving them 2 more uses.
Mhm.
X-Men love their upgrades, mission training, attack training. Those decks are incredibly powerful. So being able to keep them healed and topped up is incredibly good. Or even some of the signature ally X-Men are really, really good as well. So I am a huge, huge fan of Triage. I like the flexibility. You can support the table. Oh, another X-Men hero is taking damage. Heal them up. Or their ally. Or you. Or your ally. And I just think that it's incredibly valuable and really flexible. It's 2 cost. It's basic. It's yeah. I don't. It's she's almost like Professor X. Where I'm having to take her out rather than put her in a lot of decks. And the only other issue other than do I need her, which is kind of always yes, is deck space really. And I think that means she is a very very good ally. I think she has overtaken. And I hope you don't pick these. Maybe you're gonna try and shoot me down as. I think she's overtaken characters like Angel and Colossus for me, who always dead certs for me in my X-Men decks. Now I'm kind of looking maybe to triage slightly first before I look to see if I can fit them in.
Yeah. Yeah, I love Triage. I especially love her in, like, the Uncanny X-Men builds where you're
Yeah.
playing her for 1, you get to heal your ally, and I honestly thought you were gonna go Wolverine over Goldballs because healing Wolverine for 2 with Triage is incredible. You get a velocity in what Wolverine can do rather
I'm
than just, like, the heal.
I'm gonna disagree slightly here. Here's why I like gold balls. If I heal gold balls for 2, I can deal 8 more damage. If I heal
Yeah,
Wolverine for 2, I deal 3 more. But he does have
right.
piercing. But
Yeah.
Wolverine was on my list. He's so fun. He probably makes my 5 favorite, but I don't know if I'd say 5 best. I don't know. He's so good. I'm pretty sure you're gonna say Wolverine now.
I'm actually not. I'm actually not. I
Oh.
really like Wolverine. I think Wolverine is good. Ooh. I may say Wolverine. There are just so many good ones, but I love the triage pick. I think triage is just an incredibly good ally. The so I'm bouncing back and forth between a couple of allies. I think Wolverine is really good. I think I run the risk of having 3 aggression allies on the list being maybe a downside. But Wolverine is just really good. He's high attack. He can stay around forever because he his healing. I'm going to
The pressure's
okay.
on.
Yeah, the pressure's on. I think I think I'm gonna have to go with the pick that this pick I think is gonna win it or lose it for me. It's another 2 cost gray ally. I'm gonna go with Forge. I like
Okay.
I like Forge because what Forge does for X-Men, right? So X or Forge is a 2 cost 1/1/2 ally, but when Forge enters play, you get to search your deck and discard pile for an X-Men or X-Force support and add it to your hand. So effectively, he's 1 less effective cost because you're tutoring that card, and you can get X-Jet. You can get X-Mansion to turn on your mutant supports and your X-Men instructions. There are just so many you can get Utopia. There's just so many cards that can revolve around or decks that revolve around specific supports that Forge is effectively another way to get that support. And so that is I really like Forge in the correct deck. And when he's around, he can get those decks up and running and make them so much more consistent. He can come in and then block. And so he's a really great early game play to get that support on the table, get the block that you need to protect your health at that beginning of the play. But Forge is going to be my 5th pick. I I was jumping between armor, I was jumping between Wolverine, but I think I'm gonna land on Forge because one, he's basic, he goes in everything, and he just like is so synergistic with the X-Men, and he can just do so many cool things. So Forge is that last pick. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like Forge, and it's tricky because Forge isn't on my top 10, but he was at one point. It's so interesting. I think no, God, I'm calling out all the downsides. I'm being competitive on this one. If you've got all your X-Men stuff in play, he loses value. Or if you've got good stuff in hand already and you can afford to, maybe you could keep that card in hand, but maybe you'd, actually need to spend it and that. So it depends when you get him and that. And with player side schemes being able to find specific cards you want as well these days, I think there's competition. But with that said, if I'm running Cerebro, I'm gonna probably want Forge to try and get it because
Yep.
it's so powerful. Uh, so no, I think he's a great pick. I think that's interesting. I'm really curious to hear what the viewers think about that one because I don't think it makes my top 10, but I could see it making a lot of people's. I think that's such an interesting choice. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a different if it's a different pick, but you got Danger Room, you got all the X-Force supports too, which I didn't even think
Yeah.
about when I was gonna do a quick X-Force, which I think is like Bunker, X-Bunker, and IPAC, right? And so you
Yeah.
can get those onto the table real quick, real easily, but also I just love 2 cost allies, so
They are good. They are really good. I almost said Pixie. I think she deserves a shout out.
Mhm.
Wolverine was at 11th on my list, which is kind of crazy, but I was considering him because he can also just fort and heal, and that's
Yeah,
really useful for aggression. And piercing is especially useful these days. And it's good. It's just there's so many good X-Men allies. And a surprise pick I also considered, the only one I think we haven't mentioned in this video, was Legion, who I found tons of use for, even in decks that aren't magic that can see the top.
yeah,
So many good ones. Probably more we haven't even mentioned. Dazzler. Dazzler was on my list as well.
Dazzler is good.
I love Dazzler. So yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so very much. Let us know who you think drafted the best team of 5 X-Men allies down in the comments. Also, make sure that you go follow. I'm pointing at the wrong spot. I guess it doesn't matter. I don't know. Right now I'm pointing at Villain Theory, but I probably am not during the edit. But anyways, go follow Villain Theory. All of their information is down below in the description, as well as the link to the newest Shadow the Cast episode where we're talking about Age of Apocalypse. Thanks for coming on, Villain. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.